there's something alarming happening in the world of heavy-duty trucks for Ram, and we're talking about the most recent ones, the recent years. And it has to do with towing numbers, and I want to shed some light on it and get to the bottom of it.
Now, of course, towing capacity is a really big deal. People depend on their truck for their work and for, of course, pleasure. And a viewer named Luis said he was doing some digging into his Ram 2500 towing numbers and found out that they decreased by an alarming amount. So let's talk about this.
Yes, so here's the email that Luis sent to us. He has an introduction, and then he says, I have attached two images, one from January of 2022 and another one from today. So over a year ago and also like a day ago.
And the way he got to these numbers is he used this tool on the Ram website that allows you to plug in your VIN, and then it spits out the towing number according to the database.
Which we've used countless times for our trucks, and also when we review a truck, we always look up those numbers, right?
Right.
So he sent two images, and here they are. So first one is this one, and this one was from a year ago. And look at this. So his payload is 2,166, and his max towing rating is 20,146. And then something he did yesterday was this. Once again, the payload stayed the same, but look at this. According to the tool, this is using the website that I'll show you next, he lost about 2,200 pounds of towing capacity.
Now, this is a really interesting piece of information. Now, first thing I want to mention is we did blur out his VIN as he asked us to, but we'll show some other examples here on how this configurator works. But this could be a really valuable tool for folks, because when you look up the towing number on your truck, there are so many variables that go into it. So people often see that max towing number and just assume that their truck can tow that number. That's not at all true. It depends, of course, not only on the engine and the transmission, but the rear end ratio, the bed and cab configuration, the
four-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive.
Option of the truck, that's right. And it's a really confusing guide that Ram, do you have that image of the Ram, or of the Ram towing guide?
Yeah.
The big gnarly one?
Yeah, so this is the actual website. This is not a screenshot. ramtrucks.com/towing/towing guide. So that's the URL. Like I said, I've been using this tool for years and years and years since we started TFL Truck. Because this is a very specific, this is another VIN we found online, right? This is another truck that also had something similar happen to it. This is a 2020 Ram 2500, which the owner of this truck said that their towing was greater and then it decreased.
Well, I can actually show it here. So this is from the HD Rams forum, and this is a truck that we're talking about. So it's a mega cab truck, and this is actually back in April of last year, and he took these screenshots. So he claims that his number decreased from 17,226, and then when we scroll down, get the next screenshot, down to 14,690, and that, of course, is via the same VIN, and then the payload stayed the same. But that's a pretty significant decrease. So now we have two examples, two different screenshots of two different trucks that lost well over 2,000 pounds worth of towing capacity.
But there's another truck. We own one, right? So we bought a Ram 2500 heavy duty, Cummins once again with a diesel, and I plugged our truck in. Mm-hmm. And when I was looking at it last year, it showed 20,000 even on the dot. Right now, it's saying 17,790. And the payload stayed the same. And by the way, if you're wondering what these little markers are, it basically says when properly equipped. See dealer for more details. This is just basically a disclaimer, but our truck has the towing package, has the trailer brake controller, has of course the exhaust brake on the diesel,
right?
All those things.
Now, the whole purpose of this tool is so that you don't have to go diving into this massive book of charts. Can you show the massive book of charts?
Yeah, so you could also look up on their media site, so Media Stellantis North America shows. You can download this PDF. Let me make this a little bit larger. And this is what you're kind of trying to avoid, right?
Right.
Because for each cab configuration and each four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive configuration, they have numbers. You see how they're listing maximum towing ratings and payload ratings for every truck. And this keeps going and going and going and going. So this can be kind of daunting to look at.
Right. Now let's actually do something kind of interesting under it. Let's see if we can find our exact truck on here and compare it to the VIN lookup. Can we do that?
So yes and no. So this is as close as I could get. This is a 2022 PDF.
Scroll up for a second. I want
Yeah.
to see. So here are the 6'4" boxes, right? 8-foot box. Keep going up.
Oh yeah, this is.
That's Power Wagon.
But that's also a Hemi Power Wagon.
Yeah, so keep going up. I want to see if maybe we can find our exact. Okay, so I think this is our exact. Oh no, that's a mega cab. This is why it's so hard to
Yeah.
use these charts.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. But look at this. They have a rating of 20,000 pounds on the turbo two-wheel drive trucks.
Right.
Right, with a longer bed. So that exists. You can see that 20,000 pounds.
And why is that number important?
Well, that's the number that I saw and Luis saw when we were buying our truck.
Right, the 20,000.
Yeah, the 20,000. Because when you're working with your truck, like you said, you're expecting certain capability, and it cannot change because your truck hasn't changed. Right. So, and here's a 23 list. Same thing. You can look up a 2023 listing and dive into this spreadsheet. There's another configuration for a two-wheel drive truck with 20,000 pounds.
But what's interesting is you're saying that our exact configuration is not on this towing guide?
Yeah, because we have not a mega cab. We have a crew cab with a 6'4" box
And four-wheel drive.
and four-wheel drive. But for some reason, our configuration is not on this PDF.
So we're going off of the VIN.
Yeah, which is,
site.
I would say, a more accurate way to do this, right? So
Right.
it's more accurate. And so Ford has something similar,
Okay.
right? I can show you in a second here. So Ford has also a towing guide. I'm going to look it up. And then GM does something else,
Right.
which is really cool.
So what we're trying to get at here is that this towing number should be a very black and white number because it's a very important number for those of you who are looking to tow and haul. But it isn't that black and white. Now, of course, on the truck, you have a couple of important numbers. You have numbers like the gross vehicle weight rating and the total payload capacity. But nowhere on our Ram in the door jamb or elsewhere actually planted on the actual truck is the tow rating. So that's why you have to do all this research, contact your dealer, or go to this VIN decoder to figure out what your tow rating is. And it looks like our tow rating has changed based on when we bought the truck last year. Nothing else has changed on the truck, right? It's not like someone went in and derated the truck, as far as we know.
The same transmission,
It's
the
the
same
same
engine.
transmission, yeah. So why is this number changing?
So Ford also has a 49-page document for all of their vehicles for tow ratings. So it's a very similar spreadsheet format. I'm not going to go too deeply into this because you get the point. But GM puts that tow rating in the door jamb. So GM just changed this a couple years ago. They're putting a plaque in the door, not just for their payload, but also for towing. And I love that. And we've showed that many, many times.
Which is how it should be, right? I mean, it should be a very, like, gross vehicle weight rating is a clear number. Payload capacity is a clear number. Why is a tow rating something you have to go dive into this crazy manual or plug your VIN in for a number that might end up changing, as it has with Luis's truck and our truck and the person on the forum's truck. Now, we did reach out to Ram for comment, and
Yes.
what did you hear back?
So, yeah, I did. So we don't have a full answer. So one of the things that they said, my Ram contact at Ram, said that this number was weird already, and this is from their website. My contact said that the rating was never over 20,000 pounds for a 2,500 truck. So they thought that might have been a misprint. But
Okay.
I asked again, I said, but people are out there are seeing a decrease in their capability
Right.
by over 2,000 pounds. And I said, and they told me, we'll get back to you with more information. So I don't have the answer final.
And they haven't gotten back to us with
And
more
it's
information.
been a day and a half.
Yeah, so this is pretty alarming, right? Because especially when you're talking about stuff as important as max towing and the safety evolving, the brakes and the steering gear. I mean, there's a lot that goes into towing that's more than just pulling a big load up a steep hill, right? It's about the
Yeah.
handling capability, and there's a lot of science that goes into this as well. So this is something that needs to be easier and more reliable, and it's a number that can't change. Especially when people are buying these trucks for work. People buy these specific models for their specific capability, right? And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. Maybe you want to have a little bit of a buffer if you're planning on towing regularly, but oftentimes people don't. So they have to know what the towing number is definitively so they know if they're within the safe bounds.
And a lot of people use these trucks for, hauling freight, and you get paid by the pound. So if you lost, a towing capacity, you potentially lost your income as well, or at least a portion of your income. So this is quite important. And yeah, I mean, when we get if we get another answer, of course we'll make an update and tell you exactly what's happening. But we wanted to shed some light on this. And I don't know if this is happening to like their light duty trucks as well, because you can put any VIN
Right.
into this tool. But we specifically noticed this with heavy duties.
Yeah, and we've seen it on the forum, so I've kind of done some additional digging. I found some other folks. We're talking not just recently. Luis sent us his example recently, but folks have been talking about it since 2022
for
is what I
months,
found.
yeah.
Of their numbers actually decreasing. And we've had a bunch of screenshots as Luis has provided here, and as we've seen with our truck here. So it's kind of alarming, right? My solution would be just stamp that official sticker in the door jamb like GM does. It's a fantastic tool, and I think every manufacturer, personally, I think they should be mandated to do that. I think that's such an important safety feature that any full-size truck or SUV should actually be mandated to have that towing capacity imprinted on the truck somewhere.
And I would go one step further. Also put the camper carrying capacity.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes the payload is different from your camper carrying capacity because the campers are large and tall and they have some leverage, right, to them. GM does some of this. I think Ford lists it in their spreadsheet, and I think Ram could also show that as well. That's really important.
Yep. Well, guys, let us know what you think in the comments section below. Head over to tfltruck.com if you want more details on it. We'll have write-ups over there. And thank you for joining us.
Yep, thank you.